that are all related. It's a fairy story. So it's called The King of the Fairies. The brave red coat looked so bright and cheery from a distance, but up close the patched cloth suggested a dismal fairy on his uppers. "What the heck do you think you're doing?" the leprechaun screeched as I caught him by the ear, pinching firmly between thumb and forefinger to make sure he didn't escape. He wriggled and threw himself around, but I had a good grip and I wasn't about to let go. "If you let me go now, I'll grant you any wish your heart desires," he said, his broad Ulster accent harsh to my English ear. "Do you think I was born yesterday? I know all about your tricks, so save your breath for squealing. 1. He looked taken aback. I almost laughed but caught myself in time. One hint of weakness and this character would be out of my grasp forever. I'd never catch a glimpse of his coat-tails again. "All right," he said, sounding deflated. "You win. I'm your prisoner. I'll do whatever you say." His shoulders slumped, and even the brim of his tricorn hat seemed to droop with dejection. I kept my face stern with a huge effort. 2. Who the heck have you been speaking to?" he said. "There hasn't been a human in 500 years that knew the forms." I waited patiently, knowing he had to follow these rules if he followed no others. Breaking the code would mean expulsion from the land of the Sidhe, and this particular leprechaun had nowhere else to go. All right, he muttered. "I, Finn Brian McCooligan, deliver myself up to you to do with as you will." I let go of his ear, holding my breath in case I'd made a mistake, but he didn't run. He sat down on a dry stone wall and took his hat off to reveal a shiny bald pate with a mass of dark brown hair in a ring around it. I couldn't believe it had worked. 3 wishes I had earned by catching him, and I had to watch every word I said from now onwards, lest a chance phrase could be considered to be a wish. The Sidhe are tricky folk, and not to be underestimated. "First wish," I said carefully, "I want a formal audience with the King of the Fairies held above ground and at a place and time of my choosing." He scratched his head and crossed his eyes as he tried to find a loophole he could exploit. After a moment, he slapped the hat back on his head with a grimace of distaste. "Done," he snapped. "Then what?" I tried not to show the relief I felt. "You'll get to hear the next wish when I'm ready," I said. The King of the Sidhe was not at all happy to be dragged off to meet a mortal, but as the ruler of the people of the mound, he was bound to the rules as tightly as the leprechaun, if not more so. "What do you want?" he snarled, arms crossed his chest, top hat quivering with indignation. I swallowed. "You have a mortal prisoner in the land of the Sidhe," I said, making sure I didn't phrase it as a question. He gave a sly smile. "I have many mortals in my realm, and who is to say they're prisoners? They may go whenever they will it." "Yes," I replied, "but you make sure they don't will it by bewitching them." I only just stopped myself from adding, "don't you?" on the end. "The mortal I'm talking about is Simon McGlone, who you have set dancing from dusk till dawn as punishment." The king shared a loaded glance with the leprechaun. I narrowed my eyes, making sure they both knew I meant business. "My second wish is that Simon McGlone of Banbury in Oxfordshire, presently cursed by you and your kind for trespass on a mound, be freed without being harmed in any way whatsoever and released to me at a place and time of my choosing." I tried so hard to phrase it as one wish and make sure they couldn't just release him off the edge of a cliff, or even worse. The king and the leprechaun stood in identical postures, both with crossed eyes as they dissected my wish. Finally, the king took a brightly coloured spotted handkerchief from his pocket and wiped his face with it. "Done," he said. "You have been well schooled in the laws of the Sidhe, but mayhap there's one thing you've forgotten." "No," I said, "I don't think I've forgotten anything. My final wish is yet to come." "I suppose you'll be wanting the usual, fortune and riches to keep you and your lover in comfort for the rest of your natural lives." I smiled. "My third and final wish is that your brother, the leprechaun Finn Brian McMahooligan, be freed forever from the slavery you inflicted on him from all eternity." You could have heard a pin drop. The little leprechaun in the red coat froze, feet together and toes pointing down about a foot above the green turf. He stared at me open mouthed, eyes wide. "How did you know?" he breathed. I smiled at him. "The hag told me. I promised her I'd free you if I could do it without endangering Simon. You can be together now." The little man danced a hornpipe, then he turned a somersault and finished by spinning upside down on the point of his hat until I felt dizzy watching him. The king's eyes were fixed on me. "You spoke to the hag?" he asked curiously, "and she helped you?" "Not all she hate mortals, your highness. There is room for tolerance between our peoples." I saw no need to mention that hair and toenails are collected for the hag, enough to give her power over many a politician and business tycoon. "You foolish mortal," Finn Brian McHooligan said in a hushed voice. "You don't know what you've done." "I think I do," I said sadly. "Simon is to be released 1 hour from now in London into room 324 of the Chantilly Hotel in Knightsbridge without harm or distress caused to him. After that you will leave him alone and never annoy him again." I held my hand out to the king. "I'm prepared to take his place."